ladies and gentlemen. It's time to continue the process. Week 14 is here. And before we move forward, we have got to look backward because week 13 was the one big reminder that the NFL is essentially a sport, a drunk sport played by giant millionaires who occasionally choose violence, occasionally choose chaos, and occasionally choose to ruin our DFS lineups for no reason at all. I didn't play DFS last week, holiday week, family time. So it isn't a victory lap or an accountability segment. This is pure objective truth telling, and week 13 gave us plenty to talk about. Thanksgiving, Packers at Lions. Green Bay 31, Detroit 24 in this one. And the entire game flipped the second Amon-Ra St. Brown left. Detroit went from a Ferrari to a rideshare scooter. Jamison Williams stepped up. Gibbs was fine. Montgomery was present. But Dan Campbell calling plays like he accidentally swallowed a handful of espresso pills, that's not sustainable. Once their wide receiver one disappeared, the Lions had no counterpunch. Green Bay belonged on the field, and it showed. Chiefs at Cowboys. Now this was the wait, what kind of game that we got. Chiefs played down, Cowboys played ready. They were steady. Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns, didn't matter. Rashee Rice doubled his expectations, didn't matter. Hunt didn't score. That one we felt coming. And the big play takeaway, the Chiefs' O-line in the run game are looking shaky. They're allergic to establishing anything on the ground, and against Dallas, that got exposed on the holiday. Bengals at the Ravens. Cincinnati 32, Baltimore 14. So, and let's not sugarcoat it. Lamar Jackson looked disinterested or hurt. Pick your narrative. Neither is good. Burrow wasn't incredible, but he was clean. 225 for 2 tutties, no mistakes. Cincinnati looked prepared. Baltimore looked like they just got off the bus. They just got off the bus right before the game started. 30 minutes, they didn't look ready to play. When Lamar flatlines, the whole ecosystem collapses. Receivers, run game, defensive stamina, you name it. Bears at the Eagles. Chicago erupts. Bears win 38-20, and Chicago got so turned that the Wiener Circle gave out free hot dogs the next day. If you know, then you know the story. Jalen Carter was playing injured, admitted it afterward, and the Bears attacked him like a GPS weakness target. Monungai and Swift, both over 100 yards, both scored one of the best rushing performances in Chicago in over 2 years. Meanwhile, A.J. Brown finally decided to rejoin civilization. 10 receptions for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. So if you stashed him through the dark months, you might have a playoff nuke on your hands at this point. 49ers at the Browns. Guys, 49ers win 24-17, but don't let the record fool you. Like, the soft schedule is doing heavy lifting. Purdy 168 and a touchdown, not elite, not terrible, just efficient against a real defense. Shad Sanders, rookie pains, and Cleveland's defense made sure he felt the 49ers defense made sure he felt every last bit of that, right? And he's going to have to continue to work through that. That's just what life is as a rookie QB. McCaffrey scored, but wasn't special. Cleveland's offense looked like a backup generator, trying to power the neighborhood and really only covering half, enough to stay lit, not enough to thrive. Jaguars at the Titans. This was a mercy killing. Tennessee is just broken. Trevor Lawrence wasn't electric, but he didn't turn it over. Strange and Myers both got home. Pollard was held in check. Zero explosiveness. Jacksonville walked in, handled business, and walked out. That was that. Texans at the Colts. The Houston defense is him. That's the headline. CJ Stroud didn't score, but he also didn't lose the game in this one. So that's the assignment now for him. Don't lose the game. Chubb scored. Marks existed. The defense smothered everything. Daniel Jones can't be good defenses through the air, and it's going to be a problem. Alec Pierce stays relevant. Warren caught a touchdown, but overall, Indy hit the downward curve we've been spotting for 2 weeks now. Dolphins at the Saints. Dolphins win 21-17, but it wasn't pretty. Tua looked mortal. The whole offense looked mortal. The fantasy winner was Achane, 134 yards and a touchdown. Olave did what Olave does, produce inside of a burning building. The Saints are basically a youth experiment right now, but Miami letting them hang around, that's not a great sign. Falcons at the Jets. The Falcons lose because they're the Falcons in this one, basically. Bijan finally hit 142 and a tutty. So we got that combo, right? And I just touched down with a good yardage. But so good. Cousins, not good enough. Pitts, numbers look good, but still untrustworthy. Meanwhile, the Jets win by simply existing in this one. Brees Hall scored. Adonai Mitchell had a big day. If some blown coverage behind that, but the Falcons remain the most unserious 4-8 team in all of football. Cardinals at the Bucks. Tampa wins barely. Mayfield mid. Bucky Irving got a touchdown, but he was inefficient, and the team looks like it was running out of gas. Basically, it's kind of been the story the last couple of weeks with them. Brissett played well. McBride was great. Harrison was fine. He's out this week. The Cardinals deserve better than this outcome. Panthers at Rams. Massive upset alert. This was shocking. Bryce Young drops 3 tutties on 15 completions. The run game pops. I mean, they did just enough on the run side. It's not that they didn't necessarily pop, but this dude led the way in terms of Bryce Young. The defense forced Stafford into bad decisions. Carolina looked like an actual emerging football team. The Rams, got to be concerned about that one. Losing on the road is one thing. Losing like that is another. They had plenty of chances to win that football game, and they were up early. Seahawks at the Vikings. Vikings offense dead on arrival. Brosmer threw 4 picks. Jefferson did nothing because of that. Seattle just played adult football and walked out with a boring, easy W. Bills at the Steelers here. Steelers are falling apart, man. They're falling apart. Rodgers yelling at receivers. Run game stuck. Offense collapsing. Bills weren't even good. But Cook ran for 144, and that was enough. This is a vibes loss for Pittsburgh. Tomlin, they're coming for your head, dog. You gotta keep it on the swivel here. Raiders at Chargers, post Chip Kelly era here. Homeboy was calling in plays that aren't even in the playbook. Maybe having flashbacks to the Ohio State days. Who knows? But both QBs were mid in this game. That we do know. Raiders run game non-existent. Chargers run game alive with vital. Brock Bowers caught 2 tutties. The bright spot there. McConkey and Johnson scored. Ugly game. Better team won, essentially. Broncos at Commanders. A disgusting football game with 60 combined points. Knicks threw for 321. Mariota threw for almost 300, and yet neither team actually looked very good at all. Rodriguez scored. Sutton scored. McLaurin looked like McLaurin again. And it was sloppy. It was chaotic. It was gross. It's not, I was expecting better, but this is what we got. Patriots at the Giants. Patriots went easily because the Giants are a 2-11 team that plays like a 1-12 team. Drake May was very efficient. The Giants, they were dust. New England continues its identity shift into maybe not that terrible. That is what we saw last week as a avenue of keeping our eye on the actual action. Our talking heads are saying, and that's week 13 in the books there to start our show off here this week on the process. So absolutely chaos, a couple of surprises, a couple of confirmations, enough weirdness that I'm already counting down to this Sunday. So it's time now. Let's get into the game inside of the game, if we shall. Let's get into Would You Rather, where we separate the lineup traps from the lineup locks, one conundrum at a time. First up, Brian Thomas versus Kyle Monungai this week. Give me Brian Thomas in this one. Jacksonville's passing offense is simply in a better spot than Chicago's rushing offense. Thomas has a clear path to volume. Jacksonville should be playing in neutral or a positive game script, and Monungai is stuck sharing touches with Swift with zero guarantee of a lead role, so no thank you. Chris Rodriguez versus Alec Pierce this week. Who'd you rather play? Guys, I'll take Chris Rodriguez Jr. here. He gets real work. He gets early down work. He gets goal line work. Pierce isn't a bad tournament play. He can always catch the 60-yard prayer, but for any kind of stability, Rodriguez is the side. All right, would you rather Alec Pierce or Kyle Monungai this week? I'll take Alec Pierce. Same logic as the Thomas call. Monungai doesn't have control of his own workload. At least Pierce has a path to that deep shot we were just talking about, a splash play, something meaningful in a box score. You're betting on volatility, of course, but the right kind, essentially. All right, would you rather play Jaden Higgins from the Texans or Woody Marks this week from the Texans? So a couple of Texans here, both in a tough matchup against Kansas City, but I'll go Woody Marks. Volume is king, and Marks has a cleaner path to touches than Higgins does to receptions. Houston, Kansas City is going to be a defensive grind. We'll get into that later, but Marks is still more insulated than Higgins this week, basically. All right. Would I rather play Deebo Samuel this week or Kyle Monangai? Give me Monangai here. Deebo is touching the ball, sure, but the usage hasn't had teeth behind it, is what we need to assess here. Washington is spreading things around, and he's not the focal point. Furthermore, Jayden Daniels coming back this week. Who knows where he figures into his sort of pecking order of things, if you will. So I know it feels weird, but the correct choice is to say Kyle Monangai here. All right, Jacoby Myers or DeAndre Swift. This is Jacoby Myers clean. Swift is in Green Bay in cold weather, splitting touches, and he's up against a real defense here. Myers is the lead receiver for Jacksonville, owns the slot, and should see steady work again. Simple call. Blake Corum this week. Would I rather play him or Luther Burden III? Give me Luther Burden III. Corum can be fine, but this isn't a 7 carries for 81 yards type of a week, guys. Kyron Williams is still the engine, and Burden gets the opportunity bump with the Bears missing Rome Odunze this week. Chicago needs him, so let's take the volume here. All right, next up, would I rather play Darren Waller or Chris Rodriguez Jr. this week? This is a good one, but it's Chris Rodriguez Jr. Waller's still getting eased in, still sharing roots, and still on the Dolphins team that hadn't featured the tight end heavily at all this year. Rodriguez has a clear lane to touches. That's the side. All right, would you rather Kenneth Walker or Christian Watson this week? Give me Kenneth Walker here. Green Bay spreads targets around like a middle school group project. Everybody gets a little piece. No guarantee Watson sees the good part, though, of the passing game. Walker, even splitting with Charbonnet, still guaranteed work. Easy decision. All right, Emeka Egbuka this week, or would I rather play Kyle Monangai? I'll take Monangai. Egbuka gets a bump with, this. Well, I feel like this. It's a tough matchup for Tampa Bay against the Saints. Tougher than people are thinking. The script is questionable. Tampa's secondary. The Saints secondary isn't as big of a pushover as people think. Monangai still has a clear path to relevance this week, even as the RB2. So I'm going to take him. All right. Would I rather play DeAndre Swift or Michael Wilson this week? Give me Swift in this one. Wilson gets the bump because there is no Marvin Harrison Jr., but he also gets the defensive attention with MHJ out. So Swift, even sharing, is in a more competitive game with a more stable role. All right. Would you rather Alec Pierce versus Woody Marks this week? Alec Pierce or Woody Marks? For upside, give me Pierce. For cash, seasonal, give me Woody Marks. Easy split, ceiling versus floor, essentially. But that's the would you rather for week 14. Fast, clean, matchup driven. Let the people argue, let you be right. All right, quick timeout from the football talk, because I do need to put y'all on something that's actually changing the way that teams hire in the corporate world. And no, I'm not talking about another AI resume sorter or some Silicon Valley cold brew powered startup fraction. This is literally what we do, guys. We plug in senior US based engineers and product talent part-time so companies can finally move fast without taking on full-time risk. If you're building anything meaningful and you're tired of the hiring drama, this would be the cheat code. You get real talent, folks. You get vetted, proven, battle tested, and you get them fractionally. That means affordability without sacrificing horsepower. And the kicker, every single engagement is backed by a project manager, and you get a risk-free trial of the talent. If the talent isn't cooking, cool, you don't pay. Teams are scaling with this because it lets them flex up, flex down, test talent, and stop wasting months interviewing people who can't actually ship. So if you're running a distributed team or you just need senior leadership, to steady the wheel, fraction is the move. Hit hirefraction.com or just DM me, guys, and I'll line you up with the right people. All right. At that, helmets on, brains on, emotions off. Week 14, reload starts with Thursday night. Let's strap in and go. We're talking what I saw, what the stats prove, and what it means for us now. Cowboys at the Lions, Detroit 44, Dallas 30. This was the exact kind of a game Detroit had to win. A season on the line, don't break the damn window on the way out type of spot. And their stars answered the call. All week, it looked like Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't going to go. Then he rolls out, straps the helmet on, and goes full-on sun god. 6 for 92, multiple chain-moving grabs, and the back-breaking 37-yard dagger on play action late in the fourth. And, man, Jahmyr Gibbs, superstar game. Let's talk about that. 3 tutties, 7 catches for 77 yards, turning the Dallas defenders into mere scenery. Montgomery adds a 35-yard touchdown slice to complete the avalanche there. If this is the version of Detroit's backfield we get down the stretch, then good luck to everybody facing them. Jameson Williams stepped up too. Legit impact, not just cardio out there. Defensively, Detroit delivered timely violence. Jack Campbell, punch out. Derek Barnes, interception off of the tip. 5 sacks, pressure when it mattered. They weren't perfect, but they made the big plays. Dallas, too many field goals in a touchdown fight. Too many mistakes. And everything cratered when CeeDee Lamb left with a concussion. Dak shifted into forced ball mode, and suddenly it was the Ryan Flournoy breakout show, 9 for 100 and 155. Pickens, meanwhile, put up the quietest 22-yard second half of his life while committing penalties and nearly gifting Detroit a turnover. Big picture, Detroit saved their season. Dallas might have sunk theirs. Reload. On the Sunday, Jets at Dolphins. This one's trickier than people think. Listen, guys, divisional game, outdoor December football. Jets defense trending upward, and the weather says low 40s, cloudy, light wind. Not a problem, but definitely enough to nudge this toward ground and pound in a yak sort of a situation. Both defenses profile similarly. Good versus, wide receivers, beatable versus running backs, and the Dolphins can be stress tested by the tight end. For Miami, the entire script has to be Devon Achane or bust. Jets are top 10 versus wide receivers, top 12 versus tight ends, but bottom third versus explosive run plays, and Achane is basically a human explosive run play. If Miami wants to avoid a slog, they need to tilt to him in the field. For the Jets, the matchup screams Breece Hall and Mason Taylor. Miami is elite versus wide receivers, 5th-ranked defense versus wide receivers, but much shakier versus running backs and even tight ends. Bottom third EPA allowed to both of those subgroups. Hall should, again, lead early down work and passing downs. And Mason Taylor, quietly the cleanest path to chain movers for New York. So Jets have won 2 of the last 3 versus Miami. They're at home. They have life now. This won't be pretty, but Miami's defense, 8th in pressure rate, should generate the difference. Dolphins escape a rock fight. Reload. Bears at Packers. Battle for the North Division. Battle for the Midway. This is a game where weather matters, guys. Bone-chilling cold, single-digit wind chills in Lambeau. That means ball security becomes a premium. Kicking becomes pain. Deep passing gets muted. Run games matter. And that's the problem for my Chicago Bears team as a native Chicagoan. The Green Bay Packers, they're top 10 versus the run and top 12 versus wide receivers. This is a brutal matchup for Caleb Williams. Even with the legs as an equalizer, he'll need them because throwing into the secondary in freezing air is like throwing a cinder block, basically. Now, Chicago's defense, opposite story. 30th versus the run, 27th versus wide receivers. League worst red zone defense. Enter Jordan Love. Enter Christian Watson, Wicks, Dobbs, Jade and Reed, Matthew Gordon. Pick your poison. Chicago can't cover anybody right now, and Green Bay doesn't even use a tight end, which happens to be Chicago's only semi-solid coverage unit. The script is simple. Green Bay will move the ball. Chicago will chase. Cold weather gives the run game the edge, but Chicago's run D is the actual issue. I love the Packers here, even as a Bears fan. I can't say I love them. I like the Packers. My heart will say love, but they're going to win that football game. Reload. Steelers at the Ravens. Pittsburgh and Baltimore both struggle versus the pass, but the Ravens actually allow the big plays. Bottom 10 in explosive wide receiver rate allowed. So Pittsburgh has a real path with Eric Metcalf. Also, Jaylen Warren, we can't forget about him. Warren gets a good matchup. Ravens are bottom third versus receiving wide receivers. These guys are in play all day. But Baltimore's counterpunch is cleaner. Steelers dead last versus tight ends. Andrews is back, extended with his contract. Likely is rolling. Flowers gets wide receiver one usage. Those are the three guys you want to be thinking about. And here's the key, though. Lamar's been banged up all year. And as we were talking about earlier, the team finally admitted it. But this is the exact type of matchup where it compromised Lamar can still cook, essentially. Steelers can't generate pressure without blitzing, and Lamar absolutely loves to dine on blitz coverage. Baltimore at home, healthier, deeper, and with more ways to move the ball. Reload. Saints at the Buccaneers. Bucs are top 10 versus the run, top 10 versus wide receivers, and bottom third versus slot tight ends. That's the funnel. I'm sorry. No. The Bucs are top 10 versus the run, but wide receivers is where they lack. They slack right there. They're pretty decent against the tight end. So, the funnel for the Saints has to go to the wide receiver, and so the offense has to go to one guy, Chris Olave, even though he's fighting uphill. For the Bucs, the Saints shut down wide receivers. Top 5 in the league, if you could believe that. So this is a K-Dot and Bucky Irving game. Tampa knows where the efficiency lives. Baker doesn't need to be a hero ball Baker player game here. He just needs to hit the layups and run the ball. Close, ugly, Tampa at home, reload. Colts at Jaguars, all right, enormous division game. Jacksonville has the number one defense, so Jonathan Taylor is going to have to earn every, number one run defense. So Jonathan Taylor is going to have to earn every inch of his yards this week. That puts the ball in Daniel Jones' hands, and that's where things get shaky, basically. Jags are bottom 10 versus tight end. So Andrew Ogletree, to a larger extent, Ty Warren, that's the guy, becomes the DFS pivot. But the Colts can't win this game without a functioning run game, and that's exactly what Jacksonville steals away. On the other side of the ball, Colts are elite versus running backs, bottom 5 versus tight ends, middling versus wide receivers. So the path is clear. Jacoby Myers and Brenton Strange, the tight end. Jags at home, defense is trending up. Colts are one-dimensional. Reload. Titans at the Browns. This game is basically rookie QB misery hour. Cold weather is what we're going to get. Maybe light snow. That hurts Tennessee more. Titans allowing production to wide receivers. So the Browns can finally get to the, Shedeur to Cedric, Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, Isaiah Bond connection going. Cleveland's run game should control the flow. Flip side, Browns erase wide receivers. Number one in the league, and they're top 10 versus the run. So the only path for Tennessee is Chigakonkwo on broken plays. That's it. If you want to take a stab at him as a tight end in tournaments, that's fine. Browns defense wins the day. Reload. Commanders at Vikings. Brand new game with Jaden Daniels back. The whole offense changes. McLaurin back in wide receiver one form. Debo actually gets actual touches. Rodriguez gets lift also. Washington's defense looks different too. They don't play the same style with Mariota under center. Minnesota gets McCarthy back. So hear me out before you laugh. He needed a reset. And now he faces a Washington D that looks worse on paper than it actually is, with Daniels controlling the tempo. So this is going to be a tight game. This will be tighter than people think. But Washington has more playmakers healthy, more stability, and more defensive juice. So reload. We'll take them. Seahawks at the Falcons. Atlanta elite versus the pass, terrible versus the run. Seattle elite versus the run, middling, leaky versus the pass. So the game scripts write themselves. For Seattle, Walker and Charbonnet, sprinkle JSN in because talent wins all the time. And then Atlanta, Pitts, Seattle's bottom 5 versus the tight end, as nasty as it is to say. but also Bijan and seasonal only should be fine. I don't think we can afford him in DFS against this defense. Seattle's defense is the best unit on the field. That's the separator this week. Reload. Bengals at the Bills, huge weather note. Snow, likely temps around freezing. If that hits, Chase Brown becomes a smash play here. Bills losing their slot QB, Darius Slay, a hole in the middle of the field. Huge for Jamar Chase and for Burrow, who looked physically right last week. Bills should lean on Shakir. Bengals can't cover wide receivers. But Buffalo's run game may struggle in the snow. If weather is mild, though, I think Bengals win. If weather turns, Bills flip the script with ground control. As of now, slightest lean towards Cincinnati pulling the upset on the road. Reload. Broncos at the Raiders. Denver's defense is legit again. Raiders can't run, can't protect. And the only guy you can trust here is Brock Bowers, who happens to face a defense that bleeds tight end production. So that's great. Cash game if you can afford it, but Vegas can't keep pace. Denver's offense isn't special, but Denver's defense will hand them short fields. Broncos on the road. Reload. Rams at the Cardinals here. Brissett can play competent football, but the Rams can squeeze his windows. Top 10 pressure rate since week 10. On offense, LA gets the exact matchup they want. Kyron strong, Stafford strong. Kyron middling. Stafford strong, Nakua and Adams strong. Arizona can't stop that trio. They got a lot they can go for. Even as a divisional game, it's like you think it's going to be tough, but I don't know. I feel like LA, they can bounce back and they have plenty of ways to do it because they're not relying on just one facet of their offense. McBride should keep it interesting at home on the other side. I did have interest in MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's out now. And so we got to bump up Michael Wilson. But the Rams will rebound and win this one on the road. Reload. Texans at Chiefs Sunday Night Football. Cold night in Kansas City. Two top 10 defenses. Underwritten all over it is what I'm thinking from a bet perspective. Texans win games with defense. Chiefs win games with Mahomes. But Houston can actually get pressure with 4, and that's the cheat code versus Kansas City. Still, in Arrowhead, with weather favoring the more physical team, I'm going to barely lean Chiefs here. Reload. Eagles at Chargers. Let's make it a last. This is our last shot, so let's make it a good one. Monday Night Football. Chargers are elite versus the wide receivers. Eagles passing game offense is stuck in the mud. This screams basically run game for Philly, but their run game only works when they have some opportunity in the middle, and it has remained to be seen over the past couple of weeks. So we'll have to see. Chargers will run, though. They'll work the short game. They'll keep Jalen Hurts watching on the sideline, out of the game. And Philly, without Jalen Carter, probably don't have enough firepower to give Iguodala off the field. That's where my head is on this one. McConkey gets some volume here. Herbert gets efficiency. Kamani Vidal has to be the play. Chargers still one on the road. Reload is done for this week. Guys, that's what I'm thinking game script wise. Hopefully that helps you guys as you think through what you want to do. And as always, you know how to use these segments and how to use this show. I am not just giving you the answers. I'm thinking it through with you so that you can have better context and understanding so that you can actually assess better. Sometimes you're going to agree with me, sometimes you won't, but that's what I want to do is I want to make you a better player. And then when you listen to the podcast, you have your analysis and you have my analysis, which is you more than I have because I only have mine. I don't have yours. So there you go. That is our reload for this week. Hey, let's switch gears again because this next one is for anybody managing engineers, actually, especially if your team is offshore or hybrid or just scattered across time zones like confetti. DevHawk. This is the platform that finally shows you what your engineering team is actually doing without being creepy, without screenshots, without being big brother, any of that nonsense, right? And so just real productivity data, commits, PR, story points, and cycle time all in one place. If something's stuck, you see it. If something's cooking, you see that too. It's clarity, it's alignment, it's visibility without babysitting. And look, if you're already running a distributed team, you know the hardest part isn't whether someone is talented, it's whether you can see the output consistently. And DevHawk makes that simple. If you want to run a modern engineering organization, not a 1999 Jira graveyard, go to devhawk.ai or DM me and I'll give you the quick tour. All right, moving right along here. Housekeeping week 14. Time to clean up these slips before the football gods sweep us up. Bum, 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 bum. That's our housekeeping motto here. So, welcome back. This is the segment where we walk through the picks I'm riding this week. No recap from last week. We didn't fire off any picks, so we're coming in fresh, clean, and intentional. And as always, these are single bets, not parlays. Take each slip and treat it like its own very little island of potential happiness. Let's get into it. Jacksonville Jaguars money line versus the Colts. I'm taking them straight up. Jacksonville's at home, chasing the division, and this is a spot where you simply trust the roster. No, Doug Peterson anymore, different era, but this team still plays real football at home, and the Colts are walking into a situation where one mistake can snowball. Indy's run game meets Jacksonville's strength. Indy's pass game meets Jacksonville's weakness, but I'm still siding with the better, more complete team. Jags money line, clean and simple. All right, next up, Chris Boswell over an extra point made. So he needs 2 extra points. It's actually 1.5, right? So there's no half, so 2. Steelers Ravens is always violent, but it's also always points. Boswell remains one of the most bankable kickers in the league. So Pittsburgh's offense is competent enough to generate 2 or 3 scoring plays. Low stress, high hit rate. This is your brush your teeth and place the bet play, right? Pretty simple, straightforward one. All right, Zach Ertz over receiving yards. Was it 33.5? So Washington's offense finally looks like Washington again, with was what I suspect with Jaden Daniels coming back. But even so, last week Ertz got moving, and this week the matchup is more compelling for the Washington tight end. And Minnesota, like they're just one of those defenses that leaks production to the tight end. Ertz doesn't need to turn back the clock. He just needs 3 or 4 real receptions. Totally doable. DK Metcalf over receiving yards this week. You see the play there. Steelers at Ravens, correct. I like this angle even more in this matchup. Baltimore's defense is tough, but they do allow wide receiver ones to earn their volume. So they're going to have to throw. Is what I'm thinking about the Steelers. And when that happens, the ball condenses toward Metcalf. This is a bet on the talent play. Mark Andrews over targets. Pittsburgh doesn't handle tight ends well, hasn't for years. And Andrews is the heartbeat of Baltimore's passing game, especially with Lamar, gutting it out with the injuries. Volume should be here, and we love volume. Jaylen Warren over in the rush yards here. Baltimore defense is good, but they can't be run on by backs who create after contact. Excuse me. They can be. Baltimore's defense is good, but that's how you beat them on the ground. Like they're backs who can create contact and keep going. This is one of those games where Jaylen Warren is one of the best in the league at that, so he should be lined up pretty well. This feels like a gritty, AFC North game where Warren steals chunks, basically. James Cook over so anytime touchdown basically from James Cook is what we're looking for. We remove the Bills. Well, here's the thing. I don't know if the Bills are going to win, but I'm still rolling with this Cook touchdown angle. Buffalo always finds their way into the red zone, and Cook is the most efficient skill player on the roster. He can score rushing or receiving, 2 paths and 1 number. We'll take it. Brian Robinson, under targets, under 5.5. Seattle's defense, again, is elite versus running backs in the passing game. And with Atlanta likely chasing, this becomes a Kyle Pitts wide receiver 2 type script. Love Bijan the player, fading the matchup. Chase Brown over rushing yards. Buffalo's run defense is basically a charity program, and with Burrow back, the offense sustains drives again, which means more opportunities for Brown, who fits the matchup like a glove. This might be the cleanest on the board. We got to take that. Washington and Minnesota. I'm going to take the over total points here. Both teams get their QBs back. Both teams have explosive pieces, and both defenses, well, let's call them generous. This is a sneaky smash spot for offense. Could be one of the top scoring early games. Housekeeping summary for your week 14 tickets. Let's roll through it again. Jaguars money line, Boswell XP over, Hurts receiving yards over, Metcalf receiving yards over, Andrews targets over, Warren rush yards over, James Cook touchdown over, Bijan targets under, Chase Brown rush yards over, Washington, Minnesota game total over. All singles, all intentionals, all live, baby. All live. All right, y'all. That's going to do it for this week. That was our episode, Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment's The Process. If you rocked with us all the way through, the reload, the DFS board, the would you rather, the housekeeping, you are officially part of the process. As always, don't tilt, trust your reads and trust your prep and trust the work. Good luck on your bets. Good luck on your lineups. And may all your sweats be glorious this week. All right, we'll be back here next week doing what we do. Film, stats, and actual substance in a world full of noise. Be good, do good, and I'll see you right back here next week where we'll learn, scout, win, and repeat by continuing the process.